Gentlemen, drink them if you got them.
I got it too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Here we go. And welcome to another edition of Postcards from the Pandemic.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Thank you, Johnny. I forgot for a second. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. And oh, are we lucky to have the proprietor of the greatest craft brewery in the world.
Oh, stop.
Rob Leonard, Johnny, from New England Brewing Company.
New England Brewing. By way of introduction, just because we talk about kind of how we know people here, I first met Rob Leonard through Mark Frilla when they both worked at the Elm City Brewery, which is no longer in service, which was a long, long time ago. And Rob has had a very legendary brewing career since then and owns a New England Brewing Company that we're going to discuss here, our favorite subject today.
I seriously, I'm, of all the people, I really don't like it when people who are jerks do well. I really like it when someone who's a great person does well, and that is you, my friend.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
We're very happy.
It was thank you for that. It was a long road. Not an overnight success for sure, but it was.
Yeah, take us back. Set us up into, give us the quick kind of how you how you went from Smith and Barber intern to a guy running really such a highly regarded brewery.
Oh, I don't know how to connect those, but I'll try. After college, I wanted to get into the entertainment business. I wanted to write for television. I got the internship at PLR, and it was great. But then reality sets in, and I'm not good at those things. So my buddy Eric Dickerson, who is good friends with Mark Furla, and I went to high school with both of those guys, was working at a brand new brewery, New Haven Brewing Company. It was new back then. Nobody knew that there was small breweries. They were called microbreweries back then. So with my college degree, I was putting empty bottles on a conveyor belt for $6 an hour. And I loved it. I never left it was awesome. It's such a good time. So I became the head brewer there, brewed for other places throughout New England, and then had the opportunity to buy the name New England Brewing Company. It's where I was working last in Norwalk. And so I refied the house. I bought some equipment. It was a real struggle, a real roll of the dice kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what would be great? This is where you tie in, Bruce. I'm like, I know Brian and Bruce. They could probably chat me up on the radio and get the word out there. I remember it was like the third day I'm there and I hear, Smith and Barber are no longer here. I'm like, no! Part my business plan. So guys did a great job.
Timing is everything.
I hit the ground running, and nobody really wanted the beer. No, they didn't understand it. You go to different accounts and like, are you making this in your bathtub? I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. I have a brewery, and so, but the idea of local beer. There was like 3 breweries back then, and then you couldn't afford advertising. You couldn't afford anything. I couldn't even afford to bottle the beer. That's how the can came around. I was the 3rd craft brewer in the country to put beer in cans, only because I.
That's right. I remember that story. Yeah.
Yes. An email that I got from the company that said, we can put your beer in cans. It's fill 2 at a time, steam 1 at a time. And I'm like, that's crazy. But it was 10 cents a can. And I couldn't afford a bottling machine. I couldn't afford labels and bottles and crowns, and all that packaging was so expensive. So I took a chance on it. Everyone thought I was crazy. But then a few years later, it makes the most sense. It blocks out the light. There's no air in the can. It's great for the environment. You're recycling aluminum. So I wasn't a trendsetter. I couldn't afford to do it the other way at the time.
We always told people you were a trendsetter, just so you know, at the time. We went out and we were like, it's in cans because it's better for you. So we were out promoting it.
I'm just thinking right now, it's like, it's so good. Like, and so why is your beer so good?
Even as poor as I was, we never skimped on the ingredients, the quality, the freshness. It was easy at the time to put out a fresh product because I can only buy X amount of malted barley and hops and would send it out to the stores. And we could never stockpile anybody. It took us all day to can a pallet of beer. So by
Well, and the other thing that's great is so now, and this will take us into the whole pandemic, but we really so Johnny and I, our best friend Rob Oliver moved to Woodbridge. So really, your tap room became our go-to meeting place.
Yes.
Yeah, you
We
saw
will be
us.
getting
You saw us a lot. But so what we like to start with is what was life like right before the pandemic? How did you understand, when was the moment you realized, wow, this is serious? And then how did things change?
Yeah, well, before it was great. I mean, people came here. Such a cool gathering place. Our team makes everybody feel welcome. I mean, that's the one thing I'm so proud of. The Nepco team here, and tap room was bustling. It was busy, and then this slow news started coming that there's a pandemic approaching. I remember the Friday we were up in Marty's office, hovering around 4 o'clock. The governor was going to say this announcement of who could be open, who couldn't. And it's like, we didn't know if we were essential, not essential, but it's like, yes, we're essential. So my goal was,
let me tell you something. You are essential, my friend.
more essential.
but the main goal is like, I don't want to lose anybody. I'm not laying off anyone. We can get through this. And thank God people like drinking beer. And thank God we're in grocery stores and liquor stores remained open. So we had a shift. It's nothing we're not used to. We can adapt and evolve. So we just shifted from draft beer to canning everything. And mostly just the focus is on CHAG, supplying all the distributors. We have great relationships with our distributors that have been so good to us. So that is the key. So it's not, we're feeling it like everybody else, but at least everybody has a job. And the big dramatic thing we did is we broke the company up into 2 teams. So I miss half my company. So I'm on one team, we're here 1 week, and then the other team comes in the other week. And just in case someone comes down with it, and it did happen to us. So our team held control for another couple of weeks when that happened. And
Wow.
She's doing great now. Thank God she had mild symptoms. But this way we keep the beer machine rolling. And you just adapt to a new way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to getting everybody back again. I know today's the day that restaurants can reopen, and we're going to let them reopen. We want to support them. Go see your restaurants and do what you can. And we'll be here, and when we can give you guys the atmosphere we used to give you, then we'll step in the game too. But we're doing okay.
How have sales kind of been? Now that you're doing curbside as well and serving out to restaurants. I've heard the industry is sort of level in a lot of other areas. Is it for you as well?
Yeah, it's obviously the tap room not being open, people coming in and enjoying pints, you feel that. But I'm glad people want to take our beer home, and you can't get some stuff at the liquor store. You call up here, order it online, we drop it right in your car, and you go. And it's great. There's a couple of big releases. We did a fuzzy release, and a lot of people showed up. And just seeing your customers out there, it's moving. They're wearing masks, you're wearing masks, you're saying hi, and
no, that's interesting to bring up because you guys have, it's great. I love the fact that you do have such a connection with your customers. The fact that when you release like Fuzzy Baby Ducks, people are checking like social media to see who's got it, where it is. And now you share, I see, I'm subscribed to your email list. So when you've got something, you can go get it at curbside. So, but I'm wondering, like, for you personally, just, so you've talked about the business side, but for you personally, how are you coping with this pandemic?
I'm like everybody. It's you don't want it to be here, but it is. We've got some small ones at home, and my wife is doing a lot of the school work. And then when I'm home on my home weeks, I think I'm helping, but I'm really not. To try and make a 7-year-old girl sit in front of a computer for 8 hours is ridiculous. So hoping, like, I'll go home for lunch to give her a break. We'll have lunch together, just a sanity break. And but it's I'm super thankful that a lot of people aren't in my position, that we could stay open and could make beer and get it out the door to keep all the employees here. So I knock on wood. I just feel blessed that way.
And how about the employees? I mean, it is such a great family. We get to come in there and meet everybody. And I've known a bunch of people that work there for a long time. Everybody's doing pretty well and coping in their own way.
Everyone's doing great. We miss the other team because we're such a big family here. So not being together, like we keep it very strict. Like no one's allowed to come in because we want to keep those borders pretty tight.
And you have literal family working with you, right? That's yeah. She's awesome. She's like so great. She's
on my team. I got Madeline with me. Yeah.
There you go.
That's great. Yeah, Madeline is just amazing. Just like such a good vibe. Actually, everybody who's working there just puts out such a good vibe, and so we so appreciate the fact, or actually, I think, and this kind of leads into the next question, but I think what this is doing, we've talked about this a lot, is that I think we all took so much for granted. Just being able to go over to New England Brewing for a pint and, I'd run into you, I'd run into your daughter, and just all the people are so great. And now we don't have that. We hopefully are coming back to it. Right. So, what we like to ask is, so we know the bad part, right? We know the downside. What for you have been the silver linings or the things that you appreciate more now?
It's cool being on a week, off a week, spending a lot of time at home has been great. Getting projects done. Seeing how strong our brand is out there, the CHAG alone, how well it's doing in supermarkets. I think people really, it's like comfort food. And maybe I'm bragging when I say that, to put that in such a high category like comfort food, but people go to the core brands of, like, Sam Adams is doing really well, Sierra Nevada. It's like when you don't have time to shop, so they're going to run, grab things that are familiar, and that made me feel really proud that we have a brand that's doing well out there, and it's such a dark time, and if it brings a smile.
I just loved it. I love the fact that we're hearing the beer brewing right now. Like that's not a fake background, by the way. That's actual beer.
Yeah, we're very jealous a little bit. So, Rob, I guess I have a two-part question for you, but it'll be pretty simple. So, what's the furthest somebody's come down during the pandemic to get New England Brewing products? And, is there anything like an interesting story about some of the curbside people that have come up?
Let's see. We've had some people come in costume, which I thought was just great, just bring the smile to people. As far as, I don't know the distance. I know, like, during some of the other releases, people come from DC and Maine, and that's just crazy humbling.
Wild.
We have gotten emails, wanted to make sure we're open because they are coming from Massachusetts or New York.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, are you getting like, so I love the thing about people in costumes, like, could we get a case of CHAG out to Darth Vader, please?
Really good. We came into work one day, there was a big sign on our window from Lovecraft Tattoo. We missed you guys at NEPCO. So it's like, cool, those are our neighbors that they're up here. We get a lot of people just beeping when they're coming in just because they're.
So today is the first day when they started reopening. So today's really the first day we can recycle our cans again, right? Is that, so what, I'm sure you've given this a lot of thought, kind of what is your path to getting the tap room open again?
That is definitely a wait and see, make sure it's, number one, make sure it's safe for our people here, and then the people who are coming here. I think it's a big challenge for everyone in this hospitality industry is that you've got to start policing people. They're supposed to be wearing a mask only when or they can only take it off when they're drinking or eating. But you're going to be in conversation. You're going to have it off. And I don't want to be that guy. Could you please put that up? Like, that's not what we wanted to do here in the first place. So part of me is like, let's just wait until we can do it right. We still have plans for expanding to a new place, and that's going forward. It's probably a year out till that's open. And
let me tell you something. I would definitely wear a New England Brewing mask. Have you placed an or you got great swag. You got great t-shirts and hats and masks, man.
Just thought of that. We had a couple of designs. The face hugger, one of our new beers, had the hop hugging your face.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
And then it's like they were expensive. I'm like, I don't want. No one needs to buy. Everyone's got their own mask over it. And I don't want to be that guy.
I would suggest one that would have a straw hole in there. And just
somebody was coming up with that. Yeah. Yeah, I think we need to take a moment and recognize New England Brewing in the community too, because we've done this with other people. So we had Brian Virtue from Christopher Martin's on there, and
great guy.
Yeah, Rob, and they're serving Sea Hag. They were doing the growler thing while they could. And now they'll have it on tap. They've had a lot of Nebco products for years. But Rob is one of the big sponsors, the New England Brewing, of their Toys for Tots Christopher Martin's Road Race, which hopefully happens this December. So this
John
is another
always helps out.
What's that? Sorry?
You're always helping out at that one.
I do what I can. That's working the beer tent's always a good thing. So, but there's another group that does a lot in the community, Bruce. I think we should recognize that.
100%. Yeah, Rob, you have been so amazing with just getting involved in great causes in the community.
That's one thing that is affecting us this year is Marty, who works for us here, does such a great job of Closer to Free. Last year, Team Craft Beer, we raised $250,000. We went over that.
I had forgotten about that. It was amazing.
They're not doing it, and this is all Marty.
Yeah.
We sponsor it, but it's the work that team does, unbelievable. And they're not going to do it this year. They're going to do a virtual ride. I don't know how that's going to work out, but everyone's going to be. This is going to be different going forward this year.
Yeah, I've got to bring it back to the fact that so again, what I'm feeling for this, and we say it a lot, the fact that we are lucky in this horrible time that we're not as challenged as so many people during this pandemic. Yeah. But it really does make me realize the importance. This is my glass half full. This is my beer half full. But the sense of community around the places we gather, the people we know, the beer we drink. I think we're never going to take that stuff for granted again after this. I hope.
Let's hope not.
Think of everything that's going on. If you list it out, what everyone's going through, it's like you won't forget this.
No, this is epic. And, so for me, teaching over at the University of New Haven, it's a challenge for universities all across the country, all around the world, thinking about how to reopen safely. And we've got some really smart people working on this. But you realize we will get through this. We will come back, but we're all gonna be changed, And I think from an academic standpoint, I think it's going to be interesting to be on a college campus and study this. Study the fact that you're living through history, and then hopefully also we start thinking about, how can we help each other, not so much just think of ourselves. So, hopefully that's what comes out of this,
If this is our generation's big thing, it's not that bad. It's not World War II. It's not the Depression.
We can get through them.
If anything, I see people trying to help out everybody else. It's a great thing. And staying home with your family, that's not that bad.
Well, I'm just glad to hear the beer machine's running because I'm running low.
Brewing, we're all going to get through this.
That's maybe the only way we're getting through this.
Can I just say one thing I'm very excited for to get back into the tasting room is to meet Rob Oliver there. So our friend Rob Oliver we've been talking about. He usually comes down with one of his kids and, you know, gets a growler fill, and then we have a sample of beer, and then he goes home. And every one of his children knows exactly where the lollipop jar is.
Oh, yeah.
The door of the thing opens, those kids go buzzing. And they got the dum-dums. They got the good ones, man. They're not jigging on the it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so here is to reopening safely. Here's to New England Brewing. Yes, here's to Rob Leonard.
Thank you, guys. I'm honored to be on the show. This is great. Great job you're doing.